I was feeling like my life looks perfect on the outside. Everything should be fine. It should be fine. I'm not okay though. What do I do? It finally got to a point where I was genuinely suicidal and having thoughts that I knew, like, I'm so glad I had that at least enough wherewithal to realize this isn't me. What is going on? I have to get help. I don't care if I'm scared or embarrassed or if people online know that I'm a fraud or that I'm an imposter. Like, I need to get some help. And so I did. And that's when things started to shift for me. Was finally reaching out to a therapist, reaching out to a coach, reaching and found that help for myself. That was a long-winded way to go about the things that can happen behind the scenes.
I want you to imagine something for a moment. What happens when the camera stops rolling, when millions have witnessed your highest highs and your lowest lows, and suddenly you are now left alone with the truth of who you really are? Today, we're sitting down with one of my private clients who is also part of the family, the mother of the family, that is the first famous family of YouTube vloggers, like literally the first family to do this long before this became a content category. They invited us into their homes, their celebrations, their fun times, their struggles, creating a digital footprint that would reshape how we think about sharing our lives online. But behind those perfectly edited videos was a reality much more complex. Generational patterns of codependency, trauma, addiction, and pain that no filter could hide. The very platform that magnified their success also magnified their struggles behind the scenes, forcing them to confront truths they spent years consciously and subconsciously running from, which is what makes their story so remarkable. It's not the rise to fame and this other big company they started and then sold and all these insane brand deals making $200,000 per deal. It's what happened when they finally turned the cameras on themselves in a different way, when they began the messy, authentic work of healing. In this raw and unfiltered conversation, we'll explore how the family that once showed us a curated version of perfection is now modeling something more valuable: the courage to break cycles, the strength to face addiction, and the vulnerability to share that journey with others who are suffering in silence. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. Well, today is going to rattle you, but in the best way, in exactly the way that you need to be rattled, as has my guest, as have I. And we've got to shake some things up and bring some awareness to certain behaviors of yours in order for you to be able to grow and get like the peace that you want in your relationships and in your own mind. So I brought on Colette Kati. She is an OG YouTube star. Okay. They're family vloggers. This goes way back. You're going to hear the story, which is really fascinating to hear the behind the scenes of that. And now the things that have come up from having that fame and the pain that came up for her, she really has turned that pain into helping other people navigate things like codependency and creating boundaries and being able to be responsible for your own happiness and peace in life. So there's so much that we're going to cover. Let's get into it. First of all, thank you. I know you're traveling right now. You're always traveling with your kids. Like, are there's certain sports that I feel I would ban my children from doing.
I feel that way sometimes, but also I'm like, you know what? Let's go. It only lasts for a few years. Why not?
Are
Right?
you doing, are they doing like cheer? What's the sport that you're having to travel for?
Dance. So it's a competitive dance team. So she does all types of dancing. It's very intensive, 4 days a week. And here we are at a 2-day, 3-day competitive dance competition.
I did competitive dance, so I remember that. But I think dance is such a good form of release that like you'll have for the rest of your life. Like I would approve of dance, but maybe it's selfish of me because I like dance.
Oh, it's I cry every time I watch her. I'm like, this is so beautiful.
I bet I would cry too. I mean, even watching those shows, like I don't think it's on anymore, like, but so you think you can dance, like, and these people who do those like modern, like moody pieces to like the right song, I'm like, I am absolutely crying.
Um,
So take us back. Like, how in the hell did you guys become the first YouTube family vloggers? Like, what was that in like '06?
yes, we started our channels in '06. And first of all, thank you for having me on. I'm really grateful to be here. Um, you have helped me so much. And so I'm excited to like be here and help your audience as well.
Thank you.
So, yes, we started our channels. This is my partner, my husband, and I. We started our channels back in 2006. And this was back when there was only like 60 of us. There was only a handful or a couple handfuls of YouTubers. Crazy times. Back then YouTube was so new. It was only for like cat videos, and you're just like finding random stuff on the internet. And we started a family vlog channel. And there's a lot that goes into it. We have over like 3,000 videos, I think.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so you've probably seen our face at some point if you're on YouTube.
What's the name of the YouTube channel? I'll make sure it's linked in the show notes too. But so, because people like multitasking when they listen to this show.
It's called the Shaytards.
Oh, that's right. I knew it had a weird name. Okay.
Very controversial name and was not yeah, it stems from my husband being in a competition online, and his followers, the people that were following him and wanted him to win, were saying, we're getting Shaytarded in here. Let's be with the Shaytards. Like they called themselves the Shaytards. So that's where he made the channel. And it was going to be a weight loss channel. It was just for fun.
So that's how the channel started, was it like weight loss like for accountability?
Yeah, for him, because he ended up losing 100 pounds over the course of his journey. So he has
Wow.
a really cool story, many cool stories actually. But that was what he started the channel for. And then we decided, what if we just did some funny skits? Because we're both in like the acting world, we're both into comedy and all that kind of stuff. Love dancing, love acting when I grew up. And so we decided to start this channel where we were doing skits together as a family. And it became this just fun place for us to express and to have fun with our kids. And
And
so
did it like take off like immediately? Like you posted a few videos and like it was insane, or it was like a slow drip?
no, it didn't happen immediately, and I'll tell you when it did hit a point where it started to explode, and that was when my husband Shay started, he was turning 29. This was 15 years ago, 16 years ago, whatever it was. He was turning 29 and he wanted to do something epic and crazy for his 29th year. And he said, what if I made a video every day on the Shaytards channel for that year? And all of our friends who also did YouTube at the time said, don't do it. You will destroy your audience. You'll burn them out. You don't want to do that. And he's like, I don't care. I'm just doing it for fun. And so that's what we did. And we did have fun and we exploded and we
How
grew real.
quickly did you guys explode once you started doing the daily videos? Like weeks?
I would say it took a couple of months, but it was a little crazy to us because we were just getting followers every day. There was new followers, new followers. And of course, in true us fashion, we like to take big risks. We decided, oh, this is cool. This is taking off. And we connected with some of our other YouTube friends and decided to move to Los Angeles now and start a company for YouTubers to help us collaborate, to help others collaborate. It was almost like, I don't know, Saturday Night Live. Like we just want to all collaborate with our comedy and connect. And it really felt like the early days of Hollywood, actually.
Wow, it's kind of like the content houses
Mhm.
that we have here in LA now, where it's just a little more strategic now because there's so much evidence from people like your family that it works, where they all come together, they rent a mansion, and then they're all together, like cross-pollinating their audiences and creating content together. But were you guys still doing it even when it blew up? Were you guys still doing it just for the fun of it? Or did it start to like pivot into, oh, dang, like we can make a lot of money at this?
It started to pivot because originally it was just we're having fun. And you have to know we started really we were broke, like really broke. And my husband did all sorts of jobs under the sun. I was a fitness instructor, a waitress. I babysat other children on the side with my own children so that I could still be a mom. And when we started this for fun and then realized this happened shortly before we moved to Los Angeles, where we realized you can actually get paid through the advertisements. And then a light bulb goes off like, wow, what if we could do this? Be YouTubers for a living. How fun would that be? I'm like, no brainer. We're having a blast doing this and we can make money. Of course, we're doing it. So that's when we took the risk and moved to LA.
And they had, meaning they, YouTube, was there the like the AdSense or whatever it's called? Was there that program back then?
They called it the partner program. I'm not even sure what they call it now, but probably the creator program. But they called it the partner program, and you had to have a certain number of views to apply, and you would have to apply and get approved and all the things. And I remember that first time we were still living in Idaho, and we like it just went into our bank account from the ads. We're not selling anything. It was just through advertisements on our videos, and it was $300. And we were like, oh my gosh, we can pay our water bill. Is this real?
And by doing stuff that like your family found fun.
Yes.
When did it go from a point where you were like, oh, we can pay our water bill. This is cool. This is extra money to like, oh my God, like we're actually making a lot of money.
Well, we started to feel that way in Idaho before we moved because we were making enough to pay like our mortgage. And that felt amazing. But then thinking about moving to LA, which is so much more expensive than Idaho, by the way.
Yeah. For
We're like,
yes, I concur.
yeah, I'm sure you guys could figure that out. But we're like, oh shit, can we do this? I don't know if we can do this. But we were like, we're gonna take the risk. We're just gonna trust it. And if we crash and burn, we'll move back home. Because we already owned a few houses because we were in the real estate business, but we were so poor because we didn't know how to manage them. And anyways, it's a whole thing. But yes, it was a risk. We were doing okay in Idaho, and then we took that next risk to move to LA and be broke in LA and try to continue it. And it
Being
did grow
broke in LA is very difficult.
very, especially with three kids. I'm like, what are we doing?
I really commend you. Like that's wild. So when you guys came to LA and you were that actually would be a great name for a show, like Broke in LA.
Broke. Yeah.
And you were broke in LA. Did you show that side as well on your YouTube channel, or did you more so keep it to like funny like skits and stuff?
We did show that side. I mean, the way we talked about it was probably more positive, but we did show that side. We lived in an apartment that some of the other YouTubers that were collaborating with us were helping us pay for because we couldn't pay for rent. So they're like, okay, we'll help you pay for this based on some brand deals that we helped bring in, and then hoping that it would, our hard work would help tip the scales. And we only had one mattress, or two mattresses. So Shay and I slept on one, and then our kids slept on another one. And yeah, people saw that. It's like, yeah, we're broke. We're trying to figure it out.
This is truly, you guys, like, I mean, given I've lived in LA for a long time, this is, especially in that time period, like the early 2000s, this, even before then, but like, this is what like people wanted to be actors did. Like
Right.
they slept on floors and mattresses and went to, like went to auditions and like really, really bet on themselves, even though it was uncomfortable. What made you guys believe in yourselves enough to take that bet? Because that is scary.
Yes, it was scary. And I have to, take my hat off to Shay because he is a risk taker. And so it was a little bit harder for me to be like, okay, but I trusted him a lot because I knew that when he makes a goal, he goes for it. Losing 100 pounds, making a video every day for his 29th year. So I had a lot of trust and faith in him and his ability to work the business. And I also felt that it's like a dream. When you move to LA to act or whatever it is, you're going towards a dream that feels bigger than you. And there's something about it. And I feel like that's why my daughter moved there after she graduated. She was like, I'm going to the dream. I'm like, go for it. Let's
It
do
is
the
very,
dream.
I mean, it is very abundant, the energy. Like, especially as like a creative, it's very welcomed and celebrated and supported and like it really is that whole like city of angels, like it's possible. Like it still exists here. That
Yeah,
feeling. Does your daughter still feel that way being here?
she does. I think she's in the messy middle of like, the excitement of moving there is worn off. She's in the grind, the
Yeah.
everyday auditioning and doing the classes and acting improv, all the things. But she still feels it. There is a different energy in Los Angeles where I feel like this is in New York too, where you just feel like there's possibility here and there's nothing that you can't believe in and make it real.
In case you didn't catch it at the beginning of the episode, Colette is one of my private clients. And she chose to come to me not because she was lacking in getting followers or engagement. She has well over 2 million collective people in her audience that have been highly nurtured over the years. It's that she wanted to pivot into a different place, into a different space, talking about something different, the stuff that you're hearing about in this episode, and wanted to make sure she set things up properly to be able to do it so that it actually profits. So she's not wasting time on just sharing content and getting likes and people saying she's so inspiring. She wanted to make sure that she was actually helping people because they're buying her various offers. And that's exactly what we're doing together. And it's one of the many things that I do inside my customized private 2-month business coaching program, which my spring applications are open right now. Now, here's the deal. I only take 4 private clients at a time. So don't wait on doing this. If you want to make sure that you have things set up so that you can monetize quickly and not waste any more time trying to figure it out, playing some kind of guessing game, wondering if this will work, and you want to shave off all of that wasted energy when you could have been making money that entire time, this is the move for you, but it is also the most exclusive way to work with me. So there is a noticeable investment in this. So don't be applying thinking that this is like some $500 course. This is working with me privately where I'm taking you through my emotional based sales techniques and we are customizing everything for your brand and business to take you to the next level. You can swipe up, access my application right inside of the show notes, and you can also get it here in the description on YouTube on ProjectME TV. Yeah, I would agree with. Thank you for reminding me because when you've been here a while, you forget it like anything else. But every once in a while, I'm reminded, and it's true, And what a great exposure that like you gave your kids to pursuing their dream, like even from an early age, to be able to experience that. Because I'm sure you guys got judged. Oh, you left somewhere where you guys were like, living more comfortably to now you're taking, your kids and they're sleeping on a mattress. I imagine they judged you for that.
Oh, you can imagine. Our parents, especially, are like, what are you doing with your lives? Because YouTube was still new too. It wasn't an established career that people acknowledge.
You're still considered unwell. Like if like I could there's no way. Like if I when people ask me, "Oh, what do you do?" I go, "I'm a podcaster." The look on people's faces is okay, yeah, but what else do you do? Like it's still not comprehensible. So if someone said that to me like back in '06, I'd be like, excuse me, like this is not serious. These people are like in definitely like in la la land and not in a good way.
Right?
Meanwhile, you're making more money than me than I was in '06, probably. Like, were you guys getting like recognized in the streets? Like, how big did this get?
Well, over time, yes, because we made a video every day for the first year and we continued on. We did a solid everyday video for 5 years.
What? Okay, any of you guys listening that are like, I can't be consistent with my content. I don't want to be on the phone all the time. Every day for 5 years, weren't there times where you guys were like sick or it was like the last thing you wanted to do, or you guys were fighting. I mean, and you still came up with a video?
Yes, so many times where and you think back in the day where we were uploading, it took 4 to 6 hours sometimes to upload. And so video created, video edited, now we're waiting for the upload. Sometimes we were traveling, so we purchased an air card back in the day where you could bring your internet with you.
I'm dying. This is
I
like
know.
basically trying to navigate getting somewhere without GPS. This is insane. I
So
forgot. What
so it
did
was
you guys use to edit your videos back then?
I think iMovie or
It wasn't like how they make it much easier now.
no, it was learning and editing software and just yeah. My husband did most of the editing, thankfully, but I learned because when you're doing it every day, you kind of need to work together because it's a lot.
Well, yeah, you have to come up with the titles, you have to come up with the skits, you're doing pre-production, you're doing the, so to speak, like performing and the post-production. Did you guys hire anybody to help you get these videos and this content out, or did you just keep it in the fam?
So later on, we did, and we actually continued to do daily vlogs for almost 9 years, though we weren't, there were still days that we would skip here and there, but we continued. So, like, we've got a lot of videos. But we did, once we started Maker Studios, which is the company that we moved to LA to start, we did start to get more help because we were also creating content for Maker Studios. I was in a mom's called the Mom's View. It was a mom's channel where we sit down and interview and talk and talk about mom content. And he was doing all sorts of other content as well. And so we did need some more help. But what we noticed was that it didn't have his touch. He has a special touch with the editing. And so our views would go down a little bit. And so then he would, oh, I need to edit again. But we did have a few editors in there that were really good about reading our brand and what we did. And so, yeah, we did have some help in there. But it's interesting to know like the magic came from him being in there editing it.
Well, I mean, Alex Cooper, who, is the podcast host of Call Her Daddy, I can't speak to what she's doing as of like right now, but even last year, she, with the big Spotify deal, she was editing her own show. And period.
Yep.
Imagine that, right? Like the amount of time that goes into that, like plus doing all the other things because that's where the magic was. And
Yes.
I know a lot of people listening can relate, whether whatever your area you're in of entrepreneurship, whether it's like you putting together a slide deck or you're doing emails or a proposal or you're doing content and it's like, or you're a podcaster and you're doing it and it does do better. But at a
Mhm.
certain point, if you don't have people helping you, you can't do it. You'll like totally burn out.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, we
what did it get up to that you guys were making? Like even if you gave us a general idea, like how wild did this get back then?
Well, as far as the vlogs went, especially because we were bringing in a lot of brand deals, there would be months where we were making like 200K
Even back then.
back then. Yeah. I mean, we did it for 9 years. So it was like, you know,
Wow. And for the brand deals, did you guys have to pursue those brands? Because there's a lot of people who like they watch influencers, they watch family vloggers, they watch the ones with the kids doing the toys, and, they get like stars in their eyes and all this stuff. But like the reality side to it is like, not necessarily are the brands like knocking on your door, right?
no, and it's changed a lot. They're not willing to give you as much. I feel like, because back then there were a lot of, I don't even know how to explain it. It's changed a lot over the years. We also had Maker Studios helping us bring in brands. So in the very beginning, it was just brands reaching out to our, email. And then once we had Maker Studios, we had people that we hired to help us bring in those bigger deals where it would be, like Ford or whatever, like a car company
Like
coming in.
big brands.
Yeah, and they're like distributing. this marketing plan over the entire, like, our network. Make
And
it
this network had 60 creators in it, plus the other shows that you guys created together, right?
actually have 60 founders, and that's how many YouTubers there were in the very beginning. But I mean, I can't even remember the number in the beginning because people kind of came in and out. But Shay and I stayed for the long haul until we ended up selling the company. Why can't I think of what year that was now? 2014 or 2013?
And were you all like, did you all have buy-in into it? Like all of you owned a small piece of it?
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yeah. And
you
then,
all had like equity in this business, which really kept all of you guys like
yeah.
engaged. And then when it was a brand deal for the overall maker studio, you each would get a cut.
Correct. Yeah.
So you're like profit sharing basically. But you could leverage bigger deals with brands because there's a bigger collective audience.
Yeah. There's so many of us. So it was
Wow.
a thing.
What are some things that people don't see behind the scenes of creating daily family vlogs? Because we see like, look how fun and they're laughing and dancing and playing and it looks so easy and oh my God, like what a dream to get paid to do that. Like there's a flip side to it.
Oh, yes, we got that all the time. Like, oh, you guys are, you're just making money. You're exploiting your family and all this stuff. It's like, oh my goodness. In the beginning, it really was. We're just starting out. We're having fun. And that's the way we decided to keep it. So we did share some of the pitfalls, some of the difficulties, obviously, because we're sharing our lives every day. But we're not going to share what doesn't feel right to share with people, especially when you're going through something. And I think it's important for everybody to know this. When you're going through something, you've got to have boundaries with what you share and who you share it with. And of course, this is our family. It's real. We're being authentic, but it's also our family. We're protecting and we're figuring life out. So what happened with I'm sorry, I got distracted. So you were asking what are some of the pitfalls from
Yeah,
behind.
like what's the other side of it that people don't see?
Right. I mean, there's so much. I'm like, which angle do I want to go with? There's the side of it of, there are real life where you have real interactions with each other that are like, oh, well, that hurts my feelings or whatever. So they're not going to see all of that. But I think for me specifically, what people weren't seeing was that we were starting to grow a lot, right? Our families enjoying this like excitement. We're creating content, we're growing, our content's growing, our bank account's growing, all of this fun stuff. And I think that I personally started to feel like, whoa, like, do I belong here? Am I good enough to be here? Like that imposter syndrome started to show up. I also started to notice this anxiety inside of me. And like keep trying to like just keep showing up, but oh my gosh, I'm kind of scared. Like what if I don't really belong here? And what do I do? Like where's this going? And when we sold Maker Studios and decided to move back to Idaho from Los Angeles, I think that's when it really started to mess, like, and it wasn't just the business. I feel like what was happening was my pattern, my ego that had kind of been created from the beginning was starting to, it was ready to change. It's like my soul was crying to like grow, and I was noticing that anxiety coming up. And I think that's happens for a lot of people and they just keep trying to push it down. But what's happening is there's a part of you that's ready to grow, and you need to start paying attention to those patterns or um, the common themes that keep coming up for you that are taking you out of the game type of stuff. And that was happening for me. And so I started to feel this anxiety. I started to feel this fear. And I've always been labeled as a fearful person. I had some things happen in my childhood that made me look at life in a fearful way. but it was like amping up so much. I was like, what is wrong with me? I was feeling like my life looks perfect on the outside. Everything should be fine. It should be fine. I'm not okay though. What do I do? And it finally got to a point where I was genuinely suicidal and having thoughts that I knew, like, I'm so glad I had that at least enough wherewithal to realize this isn't me. What is going on? I have to get help. I don't care if I'm scared or embarrassed or if people online know that I'm a fraud or that I'm an imposter. Like, I need to get some help. And so I did. And that's when things started to shift for me, was finally reaching out to a therapist, reaching out to a coach, reaching and found that help for myself. Um, that was a long-winded way to go about the things that can happen behind the scenes. But I think it's that way probably for everybody in their lives. You're going to put your best foot forward. You're not going to show everybody everything. Most people aren't.
Well, and I wouldn't coach anyone to do that, right? It's like I call it like having discretion, right? That doesn't make you dishonest for having discretion. Like as much as I share and people assume I share everything, I do not share everything. Some things aren't healthy for me to share because I'm still processing them, or you can re-traumatize yourself by sharing them, and it's actually would be disrespecting and self-abandoning, right, to do that. And it can get kind of messy when your job has your entire family online and people are seeing you every day and commenting, and you pride yourselves on being like authentic and real.
Mhm.
Do you think that there was any form of what happened where you started getting the anxiety and some of that like imposter syndrome? Was it like a fear of being seen? Like you hit a certain level of success, and it's almost like when I see, even in myself, I reach a certain level of abundance or whatever that represents, success, fame, visibility. And I feel almost like I'm walking around with like my skin off, like I'm very exposed, like I can't hide anymore, even though like you weren't being fake, like you
Right.
didn't have really anything to hide. I don't have anything to hide. I don't know how to explain the feeling. You did a great job of it. It's just like very exposed, uncomfortable. Like, am I got like a level of responsibility almost that like I don't know if I should have.
Right. Right. It's like I still felt like I was having these labels on myself. I'm a small town girl from Idaho and I'm not that smart. Like, do I deserve to be here? It did feel like this certain level of a fear of being seen, and maybe it's because I felt like if people really saw the inside of me, it would be like, oh, she doesn't deserve this. I'm sure there's people that really thought that, but it was maybe a fear of being seen. I also realized that, you know, because I was struggling a lot, but my husband was also struggling. Like we were both kind of hitting this level of, oh my gosh, like what's going on?
Did you know he was struggling when you were struggling, or did you think, God, he's fine and I'm a mess?
No, I think I did know, I noticed that he was struggling in ways, but we were both trying to just be okay. We were both trying to keep going and not go inside and notice like what's actually happening on the inside. And I think for me, and I'm so grateful that I had a therapist that could like see through some of what I was going through, and realizing that some of our dynamic was also to do with that he was struggling with addiction. And so this, and I'll say codependency dynamic was starting to show, which I think, and this might be controversial, but I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to have that dynamic with him, because it actually showed me things about myself that I had, patterns that I had actually adopted from childhood, from before I even met him or knew him. And that's the stuff that was getting kicked up, like the people pleasing and the fear of being seen and the need to be liked and the need to sacrifice myself and self-abandon in order to make somebody else happy. But if you know, if there's any type of addiction involved, especially, or, and I would also blanket narcissism or any type of mental or emotional sickness, you can't make that person happy. So if you are, and I call this the outside in approach. If you're wanting somebody else to be okay so that you can feel okay, or a certain circumstance to be a certain way so that you can be okay, it's not going to work. And I'm a testament to that because we got the money, we got the fame, we got the beautiful family, and we were struggling because of this codependency
And
dynamic.
then you had the toxic shame of shitting yourself. Look at all that we have. I should be so grateful. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should be exhilarated. I should be blah, 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 which I think just compounds all of it, don't you?
Which and Shay has said this before where it's like, wow, I did the goals that I was set out to do, and he was feeling this anxiety. And I think that's also what leads to addiction. It was just like, oh my gosh, I should be okay and I'm not. Like I need help. And everybody chooses different coping skills
This
or
makes that I'm very much nodding my head over here. If you guys go watch this on Project Me TV on YouTube, which you need to do that and check out their channel as well, so you have the reference point. But I keep nodding my head because, and I shared some of this with you, as you being my client, that I really, I went mega mega viral and I blew up to where even in Los Angeles, like anytime I left my house, like someone would come up to me.
Mhm.
Now obviously we know what line of work I'm in. I didn't do this to not like grow, right? Like I'm aware that that's possible, but when it happened, it was like almost this giant layer of pressure I put on myself, that now I not only have to I keep this up, I have to like step it up. I was already delivering my best, but I put it on myself.
Right.
And I put so much pressure and the pressure cooker, and then like that brought out a lot of like a whole different level of codependency. And I'd already been, in treatment for codependency and therapy for a million years for all of it, but it brought out like deeper layers. But I could see if I was a substance addict, I could see turning to that because it numbs it, right?
Yeah.
And like it does help you check out. Like a lot of people, they go and have, I need a glass of wine, I need a drink, I need a smoke or whatever. It like takes you away because you want to escape it and you don't know how to get out.
Absolutely. And no judgment because I see it. Like it's life is hard. And there's reasons why we go and find ways to cope because it's really hard.
What was one or several of like your coping mechanisms? You probably didn't realize they were coping mechanisms at the time, like while you were doing it initially, but what were some of those?
For me, I think my coping mechanisms was just put my head down and take care of everyone.
Like you did the ostrich kind of thing, like you put your head, buried the head in the sand.
It was almost like just keep going. Like make sure the family's taken care of, make sure everybody's happy, make sure the house is clean, make sure, it just felt like I go into go mode of like, I'm fine. I'm gonna take care of everybody else because if everybody else is doing okay, then things are good. But I think over time I realized I'm still not good.
What
Everything.
were some of those symptoms? Like I know you said like anxiety and then a lot of like suicidal ideation. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's like, like fantasizing, thinking about killing yourself, but it didn't sound like you were genuinely planning to do it. It was more so like ideating about it.
It was just like I would start to fantasize, like, oh, I wonder. And I'm like, what? Why am I thinking that? Like, that's not me. That's not
My
my.
therapist calls it an escape hatch,
Yeah.
almost like letting the air out of like a pressure cooker. Like you're not going to do it, but the thought of being able to like leave it all behind feels nice.
Yeah. Just let go. Yes. Which I'm grateful I have learned other ways to be able to let go that don't involve that. And I would say one of the biggest things that helped me is we're only as sick as our secrets. And back then, I felt like there was something genuinely wrong with me, that nobody else was experiencing it, that of course, if anybody else was in my position, they would be super grateful, they would be super happy and just living it up, and there must be something wrong with me. And when I finally reached out and said that to my therapist, a trusted person, that it's like that was what allowing the crack in the room, or like the crack in the glass, to be there. That's when the light started to come through. It was like, it's okay to be exactly where you are. And so I would say that to anybody who is struggling in any way and they're like, what is wrong with me? Find a coach, a therapist, a trusted person that you can be truly who you are with, because that's what started the change for me.
Yeah, because that is another, root of codependency is thinking that we are flawed. Like the codependent, we put everything on ourselves. I'm bad. I'm flawed. It must be me. It's my problem. Overly responsible, over giving, overdoing, self abandoning over and over and over again.
Mhm.
Getting sick and then doing it anyway, and then being resentful of that role and not feeling like you have a way out. And I feel like there's like thousands of people I'm imagining right now, like nodding their heads, like, you just described me. And the word codependency, if someone told my ass I was codependent, I'm telling you, even 10 years ago, and I had already done a lot of therapy, I would have been like offended because the term almost has like, it's not a really good like connotation almost. It has a term like, it just sounds bad. It's embarrassing. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be that.
Yeah,
And
and
it makes sense when you look at like your childhood, how that came to be. Like, you learned, you were saying, these to be a codependent as a product of your childhood, right?
absolutely.
So
Uh,
how does that look? Like where did that come from?
I mean, I would say, because I didn't have, and sometimes I don't like, there's a definition of codependency that it only has to do with somebody that's addicted and you are the codependent, because it happened to me when I was younger, when my mom was sick with cancer. So she was sick for 8 years, from the time I was 3, and then she passed away when I was 11. And so our family aura was like kind of heavy. Like the house was like, she could die any day for
Ugh.
8, you know? But there was also a lot of love, but it was all a lot of open emotion, which I feel I'm grateful for. But also there was this feeling of like, how do I fix this? Like everyone's sad. How do I fix it? And, there was a lot of emotion that we were able to express, but some emotions that we weren't. Like I don't think that I acknowledged anger even after my mom passed away. I didn't acknowledge the grief and the anger that wanted to express, because in my mind I thought, no, anger's bad and that makes people suffer, so I'm not going to do that. Limiting belief, right? So I remember, my dad suffering so much because he's watching his, love of his life pass away. And I remember thinking, I don't want to make him suffer more. I need to make him happy. And so that the people pleaser is born. And that was my role. I didn't want conflict because we needed peace and happiness. I didn't want to not agree. Like I needed to be agreeable, like all of these things that I don't think I was taught as a kid, but I decided this is what I need
You
to do.
absorbed it and it wasn't the fault of your parents, it was a result of the circumstances. I think this is a very helpful example for people because even for moms and dads who are listening, like it's not necessarily a story like mine, with like the abuse I endured, and that one's like kind of more obvious. It absolutely can be because of maybe there was a parent or a grandparent that is an alcoholic in the home, or someone was sick, mentally or physically. And then that gets developed, and it makes sense during those ages why you would get that way. And I have same thing with the anger. You and I have very different childhoods, but same thing is anger's bad, like especially I think for girls too, like for women, right? Like anger's bad, good girls don't get angry. Anger upsets people, stresses people out, so I'm not allowed to be angry. And you have the added fact of no one did anything wrong. Your mom has cancer. Like it was no one's fault.
Right.
And so then you held in anger basically most of your life, it sounds like.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I had that belief of anger's bad. We don't need to feel that. I'm happy.
How did your anger come out like in your relationship? Because there had to be some way. Was it more like passive aggressiveness?
Yeah, I would say I maybe there would be passive aggressive, but I think I would just internalize everything. I would, if I had an angry thought or feeling, I would immediately feel guilty for it. So it wouldn't really express, it would just go inward, like, oh, I can't feel that way. That's so bad. Yeah. And I notice that a lot of people that have dealt with this pattern of self-abandoning and people pleasing, guilt is such a huge part of it because we have this belief that I have to be able to make the people around me okay in order to receive peace or make everybody happy. And if I'm not doing that, if I'm angry, I'm going against what I'm wanting to create, and that's bad. So now I'm the one to blame.
Yeah, it is so many layers deep. And the boundary side of things, I know is a big part of your story. So, how did boundaries look most of your life? Like, were there literally none?
I had no idea what a boundary was.
I didn't either. Like, literally, I didn't know what the word meant. I'm not joking you. Like, and it wasn't even that long ago when I look at it. Like, I didn't even know the word boundary in my 20s.
Right. Uh-huh.
And I actually was taught that, like boundaries are actually mean you don't love somebody. Like if you really care and love someone, you will do anything and everything for them. Like that makes you a good, like selfless person.
Absolutely. That was also my negative belief that I had because you boundaries were mean. Boundaries were if you wanted to cut somebody out of your life, that was when you needed a boundary. That's all I knew. And it's not true, actually. So, boundaries for me, when I learned that I didn't have any and I learned that I needed them, and I think that took some time to really acknowledge because that belief of I need to give everything and that's noble and that's good and that self-sacrifice is actually love. I had to unlearn that. And I think we misunderstand boundaries are meant to be flexible, but they need to be there when you have a self-abandon yourself so that, boundaries say, I guess self-abandonment and self-sacrificing says, you matter more than I do. And so you have to, when you change that belief, you're changing it to you matter and I matter. And if you think of, narcissism or true selfishness, that's usually I matter more than you do. And I'm not even judging people that have narcissistic behavior because that's just another pattern that we develop in order to get our needs met. It's obviously very toxic and destructive for other people. But if you think about um, a true narcissist is somebody that has a lack of self. So they're doing that outside in approach so much. Like that is their go-to. Like I need to take from you so that I can feel okay. And that's just the pattern they learn. And it's hard. It's That's hard.
Well, and it is said by clinicians, psychologists, psychiatrists that active addicts behave and mimic full narcissistic behavior
Right.
when they're in active addiction,
Right.
where
Ex-
it is because it's all about themselves. It's about themselves and their drug of choice and getting their immediate needs met without the care of family, finances, responsibilities, because they're abandoning their self, right?
Mhm.
So to think they're not going to abandon others. So when you were learning how to not self abandon and be a baby boundary setter, you were learning this while having a husband who like, you know, publicly and openly talked about like having struggles with addiction. So like you were practicing it with someone that would be very difficult to practice it with, I would think.
Right. And and it's not easy, but it's almost like there's no way out for me unless I had to. You know what I mean? Because this pattern was so ingrained in me, um, that I almost had to have that experience of you are not okay. And I recognize that me trying to make you okay is never going to happen. Like there, and that's the one thing about having that dynamic, especially with people pleasers and self-abandoners. You've got to realize there is nothing you can do for that person. That's not your responsibility, it's theirs. So even as I talk about, you know, understanding the mind of a narcissist and that they are depleted and empty and that's why they're doing what they're doing, the empaths in the room are probably thinking, oh, but that's why I want to help them. You can't stop it.
I
That's right.
remember like I think it was the second alcoholic I was with. I lose track. But I went into a 12-step program for like people who are like partners of addicts. And I literally had a notebook. And the only reason I went there was to take notes and figure out how to help the person. It literally is zero thought about me. I didn't need any help. It was really only for that person. And I would have done anything. I would have gone into debt if someone told me there was a special program I could take to fix the person I cared about. I would have done it, like truly twisted myself inside out and then get intensely angry when it wasn't working. Like beside myself angry or and feel unappreciated. And I also wanted and was really sad that no one was doing that for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever feel that way?
Yeah, I felt like, why do I have to do this? He's the one that's sick. Like, why am I doing this? But addiction is a family disease because that's the dynamic. You think, well, I can help them, I can fix them, I can do this. But the truth is that you can't because they still have their agency, their choices, and they're going to make those choices no matter what you do. And the more you push to try to fix it, the more they're in it, the more guilt they feel, the more they do it, the more guilt you feel because you can't fix it. So you see this dynamic, it's a lose-lose cycle. You've got to learn to detach. That's the first. You've got to
And
learn to
how do
detach.
you do
Taking
that?
responsibility for your there are many, many things, but I think understanding the dynamic is is a really important part. Understanding that you are not responsible for somebody else's behavior or happiness or emotions. And
Even if
I
they're telling you that you are.
even if they're telling that you are, even if you, because I believe that as a kid, like, oh, I hurt your feelings. I need to fix your feelings.
I've fallen for that as an adult.
Exactly. We learn it very young. Like, oh, I hurt your feelings. I need to fix them. It's a bad model. It's a bad model, and it doesn't actually, it's not actually true. When we take drastic, radical responsibility for that, that's when we can actually change. So you're never going to change another person or make them happy enough so that you can be whole. And I think that learning that radical responsibility, like I'm actually responsible, even if this person hurt me, even if They are the ones that hurt my feelings and created, they invoked this anger or this pain within me. It's mine, and I get to heal it. So it can be painful to hear that you're responsible, but it can also be empowering. Because if you're trying to get your addicted person or your sick person to heal you or to heal the wounds that they invoked in you, it's never going to happen. And even if it does, the sweetness of owning and taking it into your own responsibility is not going to be there, because you'll always be dependent on whether or not they're going to be okay in order for you to be okay.
And you guys, this translates to all areas of your life. It's not just the relationship with your partner. Codependency shows up just like addiction. It shows up in friendships. It shows up in work. And I have to tell you, like, it showed up for me just when doesn't matter how much you work on it, it's still there. Like, an addict's always an addict.
Mhm.
It's hardwired. That doesn't mean you can't have it managed, but there's certain traits. A codependent is always a codependent. It needs to be managed, just like diabetics, have to manage their disease, right? And I got caught in the loop, and I don't know if you guys ever experienced it, where, and I know all these social platforms are designed to like ping your dopamine, but to your outside in approach, I started getting hooked on, oh my God, this didn't get 1 million views. Oh
Yes.
no, this got 700,000. Oh my God, this is 400,000. I'm losing all of it. I'm losing everything I've built. Oh my God, what do I need to do? And then my codependency showed up of, I go into doing. Kind of similar to you, like it's a forcing, pushing, action, 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 action. I don't go into avoidance. Some people, that's their response, right? They freeze. Mine is action, but like this is for out of scarcity. This is not healthy. And then I
Mhm.
would post more. Post more, do more. And then they'd get the views would get worse and worse and worse. And it would be like my self-esteem was
Yes.
being affected an algorithm that I have no control over. Like,
Oh,
that's insanity. You're unwell, like that's an example of how it can show up even with a computer and not even a person. It's that you might have a friend who always has her feelings hurt or something. I had a friend like this, always had her feelings hurt. And I know I'm a good communicator and a caring person. And if I hurt someone's feelings, I will own it. But it was like constant, and I was feeling so bad. And then I start walking on eggshells, and I better not say this to this person, and I better say it this way, and I better, not tell her that I don't want to go here because then she's going to be offended. That is codependency.
that is codependency. And that's how we start playing small. That's how we start changing who we are in order to make other people comfortable and okay. And that's when you lose yourself.
So, how did you start setting boundaries when you were so new to setting boundaries? Like, what boundaries were some of the first ones that you set?
I would say, and that's hard to go back and see what some of the first boundaries were, because it starts so small. Because it is partly rewiring your brain to realize, oh, that's not actually mine that I'm taking responsibility for. That's his or that's theirs. Getting good at seeing the triggers, seeing your reactions. Because I always say we want to learn to respond to life instead of just being reactive all the time. And how many of us are just every day, everything we do is a reaction to a stimulus or somebody else or a thing. And so getting good at recognizing what are my reactions to what's happening. What comes up in me when this happens, and and for me it was like I need to create safety for myself emotionally. And when you have, somebody that's addicted, there's just they're not happy. And so there's going to be a lot of times where they're putting stuff on you. So you need to get good at, is this actually mine or is it theirs? Where do I end and they begin, and they end and I begin? You've got to start looking at, okay, what happened in me when they did this? I'm not going to blame them or be a victim. I just want to know. Okay, I definitely got triggered when they said this or did this. So I'm going to pay attention to that. What emotions are coming up? Why, when I want to go to my numbing tactic, what happened before I reached for that numbing tactic? Start to get really hyper aware of what's happening. And thankfully, I had a really good therapist because I think you need tools. You need a way to process and be heard and seen in that. Like, oh my gosh, that actually invoked that part of me that feels afraid and feels like a child. And that's when you want to go to your numbing or go to your, now I'm just going to scrub the dishes and then everything will be fine later. There's other things that we do. So just getting really good at being aware, getting to know yourself is part of my everyday freedom formula where you've got to get to know what is making you tick. And it's yours. It's not theirs. They're not going to fix it. And if you keep trying to get them to fix it, you're just going to keep ticking. You don't want that. So you've got to get good at noticing what makes you tick. And then you've got to have other things that you do. Sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's a habit that you need to recreate or sorry, I feel like I get really long-winded because I love this stuff so much. But you asked me, what were some of the first boundaries that I set? One thing is there would be so much arguing because I would be trying so hard to get him to understand where I'm coming from. If he understands, then it'll be fine and it'll be fixed, right? If there's an understanding. And so we would just be going back and forth because, of course, he's thinking the same thing. Well, if she just understood me, then she wouldn't be fighting with me and everything would be fine. And so I would have to get good at being the self-validator. I get me and I'm going to stand by me. I don't need, yes, it would be nice if he understood me, but I don't need it for me to be okay.
Ooh, that is, girl, that is one of the hardest things to do, but the most that is what will set you free. The self-validation. Instead of waiting for it or yearning from it or needing it from anything external, from social media, from your partner, from a family member, even like wanting an apology from someone. That is no, that is not good because you're lose. You're such a mess and dysregulated, waiting on someone else to do something that you have no control over and to self validate. It can feel lonely. It can suck, quite frankly.
Oh, it sucks. Because the first boundaries that you really set are actually within yourself. You're setting a boundary that I don't actually need that person to change in order for me to be okay. You might need to set a boundary with them, meaning you will remove yourself from their presence, or you will, like one of the first boundaries that I learned was the broken record and repeat.
I've never heard of this.
Okay, so when you get into a discussion or an argument or your whirlwind with somebody, and I'm sure you've all been there. I've been there so many times. And I think Shay and we've been in the dynamic so many times that we recognize it immediately when we're starting to go there and we're like, oh, you know what? We've been here. We don't want to do that. We've gotten really good at recognizing, oh, let's take responsibility for our emotions and let's take a step back and we'll talk about it again when we're neutral. But in the beginning, and that doesn't always happen with the person. So I just want to make that clear. Like I didn't need him to get it, even though he
Mm.
starting to get it, or he's in a different place now. But I needed to get good at, okay, I got to step back, come back to a neutral place within myself and realize, what do I actually need? It's not him to change. I don't need him to understand me. I might need to create safety for myself. I'm trying to think of a good example, but you've got to learn to speak your truth because this happens a lot with people pleasers and empaths. And, we're just going to shut down and we're going to avoid, but you need to speak your truth. That's part of setting a boundary. And then you need to take the action for yourself to create the thing that you need instead of needing them to do it. So, for instance, a broken record would be if somebody's yelling at you or swearing at you or there's a bad conversation, you've set that boundary within yourself. I'm not going to go there. I am I recognize that this is getting heated. I am going to step away and come back to this conversation when we're at neutral. And then you step away. And if the person, especially with narcissistic behavior, they're going to keep coming at you, instead of trying to prove or defend or make them understand, you've got a broken record. Nope. What is my truth? I am not okay with this conversation, not okay with the way you're treating me. I'm stepping away and I'll come back to it. Or you won't come back to it. Whatever your truth truly is, I'm not okay. I'm walking away. You have to get good. And that is self-validating. You're telling yourself that you matter, that your truth is the number one thing that's important, and you're not negotiating it. Even
And
if you're
you're showing up for yourself. You're not caving on yourself by like, saying you're setting a boundary, but like 3 minutes later, you go back into it. But in the beginning, when you're learning boundaries, it is going to be a little messy. And to your point, I do not recommend doing any of this alone. This is
oh
this
no.
is why like you now coach people on this. Like you're a safe space for people because I know what was so important for me is I felt like I was a bitch when I was setting boundaries with people I loved. Like if someone was like egregious, I didn't necessarily feel that way. Like I could work through that. But setting boundaries with someone who's quote unquote a nice person, or maybe their behavior is just like, it's almost like innocent or it's cloaked in niceness or it's just more convoluted than that. I would go, am I a bad person? I told people I was going to go out to this dinner and now I don't want to go or I don't feel well. But like if I'm canceling, that makes me a bad friend. And right, like I needed to have somebody that I could go to that I could trust that actually knows what the hell they're doing and be
Mhm.
like, hey, am I like being too much here? Am I being a bitch? Or is like this like a respectable boundary? And that
Right.
really was vital for me. And I know you do that for people. And tell us about like the ideal type of person that comes to you that you coach. Like what kind of position are they in around the codependency and the boundary stuff?
I would say the person that can see that this is a problem for them. That
Like
they
they know that they're a part of it.
like I know I'm people pleasing. I know I am not showing up for myself, but I also know that every time I try, I'm feeling guilty because I want this person. I want to show up for my people. I love them, but I'm not showing up for myself. And I know I need to start doing that, but I don't know how to do it. That's usually the people that come to me. I see that I'm suffering and I'm not okay, and I'm tired of putting it in another person's hands or in a circumstance. I need to take action, and I don't know what that is. And what do I need to do?
Why do you think it is? And I have someone in my life, I might cry, but I have someone in my life that is like in this dynamic, the codependent and the active addict.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make somebody stupid. You could be the smartest person. It, it's it it's just like addiction. It doesn't matter. There's no prejudice. You could be a neurosurgeon and be an addict. And it's the same with codependency. But she knows it's a problem. I mean, it's insane. The insanity that is going on is wild, and they call it a merry-go-round. It is literally like the same pattern over and over and over and over where it's undeniable, yet she makes a choice to not get help like from someone like you.
Right.
Were you ever in that spot? Like that's hard for me to comprehend of there's resources, you can get help. This is going to ruin an entire family. It's ruining your life. Why wouldn't that be a top tier priority for someone to work with you?
What, and I'll speak for myself. I didn't know what I didn't know. Like when I first reached out to my therapist, I truly thought there was a problem with me. And now I know, oh, I was in a dynamic. I have been living out of patterns and a dynamic, and there's no judgment. Like I still need to remind myself these things. I still have my therapist that she reminds me, like, you're not a bitch when you're holding boundaries, you know? And by the way, if you're used to people pleasing, you are so in so much lack of boundaries that you're going to feel like a bitch. You're going to swing one way. You might be a bitch, you might be mean, and you've got to get comfortable with that because that's how you start advocating for yourself. And then you might come back here in the middle to where it feels a little bit more, oh, I'm not angry anymore. But you've got to take that risk, and that's why I'm really grateful that I learned to take risks, because I think I got to a point where if I don't change, I don't even want to think about where I'm going to be in 3 months from now and 6 months from now. So I think why people don't is not just maybe you don't know what you need to do. Maybe you think you're the problem and that there's nothing that you can do to fix it.
Or
But I
maybe
promise.
you think the other person is the problem and you aren't the problem. That's how I was,
Mhm.
which is really cringy when I even say that right now. I really thought, and I was someone who always apologized. It's not like I was someone who was self-righteous and didn't take accountability. But when there was a dynamic with someone with like addict traits or narc traits, it was all them and not me. I did not see that I was part of the dynamic.
which which is understandable. Like there's no judgment there because obviously they did horrible things. And it's easier to feel like, okay, this is you. Obviously, you're terrible. But if you're still getting hurt and triggered, if you're still suffering, you get to heal that. And it doesn't have to come from that person being better. And that's
Mm,
that because
yeah.
even when you've separated yourself from somebody, I mean, I get this all the time. It's like you're divorced for whatever, 10 years, and there's still that dynamic of fighting and blah, blah, blah. It's because when you don't look within to heal that and to acknowledge what is my part, what is my responsibility, how can I fully show up for myself so that I can let that go, and that's when life gets to be sweet and there's no judgment.
How
It's
is your life now compared to where you were at your peak of codependency now that you've done all the work and continue to do the work that you do?
I like to tell people because I truly was living with anxiety, fight or flight, that internal dis-ease, 99% of the time or 90% of the time, 10% maybe peace would show up. And
Same.
now, yeah. And now I'm like, oh, I I can have like I don't even remember the last time I had a fight or flight response, which if I were to tell, now I'm going to get emotional. If I were to tell myself that back in the peak of my codependency, I would have done anything to feel the way I feel now. And I'm so grateful to past me that took the risk to be seen by somebody that I could trust or that I was willing to try to put trust in because it opened up a whole new world of taking full accountability and responsibility for my healing, and it was powerful because I don't to learn and to actually internalize that I don't need anything outside of me to be okay and I can be at peace. Like who wouldn't do anything for that?
There's no better feeling. I mean, that's where, you guys, I have my zero fucks given. Like that's where that has come out of. It's a reminder, right? To like stop giving so many when it's self-abandoning, when it's inappropriate, when it's not healthy. You need to save a lot of those for yourself. That doesn't mean you don't care about people, but you don't care about people by abandoning yourself. And
Mhm.
I agree with you. If I had known what was on the other side of doing the work, I that would have been my number one priority, which is why I think it is such a blessing and why you're paying it forward with what you do with your coaching and your podcast. that you try to show people, through her Empowered Now podcast, through your social media. All those are linked in the show notes, and through like your coaching. And I've been business coaching her, and it is this genuine, like she has turned her pain and her journey into now paying it forward and helping people. And you only want to work with someone who's really been through it and is practicing it, not someone who conceptualizes it or has read about it or has done like a light version of it. That's not going to cut it, because you've got to have someone where you can say to them, like, the real down and dirty stuff, like you said, where someone
Yes,
really hears you. Otherwise, you're going to continue to keep a secret. People will people please with coaches and therapists.
I know, right? And I won't take on people that I recognize are doing that unless they're
Or if
willing.
you recognize them doing it while you've taken them on, you have an approach, I'm sure, to like help them with that.
Yes, but if yeah. And that's what it's, if you're willing to go there, your life is going to get good. I promise you that.
I
Yeah.
agree. And some people in your life are not going to make the cut, right?
No,
Because they are not going to like it that you're putting yourself first.
right.
When you are starting to please yourself instead of others, you will displease some people because it's very different. You are a different person, and they're no longer getting the benefit of you twisting yourself in a knot and over giving and overdoing. And that's also okay.
Yes. And the cool thing is that boundaries actually create more compassion. So I think some of us, we go into the inner work, or we're afraid to go into the inner work because we think I'm going to lose people. And for me, I got to a point where I was willing to lose people for myself in order to heal. But the cool thing is that when you learn to set boundaries and you start really advocating for yourself, the people that are real, even if they're the ones that are having the dynamic, because that's the way my husband and I were. We're going back and forth with this dynamic. But as I learned to set boundaries, it actually helped him. And sometimes people don't get that. Yes, it was painful at first because the people that benefit from you not having, or the people that are upset when you have boundaries are those that are benefiting from you not having any. But it helped him own his place, own his emotions, own his responsibility for where he was. Those boundaries were hard. In the beginning, it was really hard to learn how to advocate for myself enough, but it actually created more compassion for him because I didn't need him in order to be okay. I could just be with him or around him and have my boundaries if I needed them. And he was in his stuff over here and I was in mine, but we could still walk together. And that's the cool thing is when you learn to set boundaries, you not only teach yourself that you are solid and grounded and you're differentiated, and then you get to have a good life, you're teaching somebody else how to do that.
Oh,
And
and your children too get to witness that. What a blessing. And you're so right. Like I don't have not to say resentment never pops up, but my level of resentment is the dial is way down on it. Like you said, there's more of a compassion and understanding because I'm detached. So
yeah,
I'm not getting all like completely dysregulated. That doesn't mean I don't have emotions about it, but it is not like spiraling my life.
yes. And you've set boundaries and established yourself in a place where you've created a safe place for yourself. That's non-negotiable anymore because you're not going to ever let that go in order for anybody else. You're not going to let that go
Literally never.
ever.
Like, like never. Like that. If I were to get a tattoo, it would have some sort of statement like that. Like literally never, not happening ever again. Because you don't want to lose what you gain from doing this work and go backwards. Like you're never going to want to do that. You guys, every way to be able to connect with Colette is in the show notes. You can swipe up. You can go to her Instagram at Colette Kati, Kati. Take a screenshot of this episode and share it and tag us. You can tag me at Project Me with Tiffany. And then if you forget to tag her, I'll still reshare it. Let us know how you feel about the episode. Let us know if you really got some good takeaways. You can DM her and make a move that if you really feel compelled in this episode where you're like, this really hit for me, you heard this for a reason, and I would trust that you're supposed to do something with it. Like, you're never going to go wrong when you do this for yourself. Like, learning how to not self abandon, that is never going to be a bad move,
Yeah.
ever.
Never going out of style for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing all of your story and your journey. And it was interesting for me to hear, like as your coach, I didn't know some of these things. And it even made me go, wow, how remarkable. It's a true testament to the work you've done on yourself that basically, if you're able to do this work successfully and like hold it, like I really feel strongly that like anybody and everybody has that capability as long as you're open and willing and you work with the right people.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just have to say, I am so grateful that I found you. I found you in a time when, like, everything you said, I was like, oh my gosh, everything was golden to me. It was like, I am so excited to be able to work with you because all this inner work that I've done has gotten me to where I am, but we always need help. We need people to get us to our next level. And so I will always be grateful for all the coaches and all the therapy and all the things that have led me here. And I'm just grateful that I have you as one of the people in my corner. You truly
Thank
are.
you. Thank you. And that's how it works. We pay it forward,
Yeah.
right? I'm only in this spot and able to support you and guide you as a result of everything I've done, not just business strategy, right? Like all the other work. And you are able to show up for it and then now help other people with it because of your work. And this is how we continue to heal and then we help others heal. It's incredible.
And I think it's your zero fucks given that I was like, oh, this girl gets it.
You're like, she's been through some shit.
Through it and you're just watching you shine and thrive. And I know it's not always like that. I know it's the consistency and the days where you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I've got to show up for myself. What do I need to do in order to do that? You are you are a testament to that, and you've been doing it for a long time. You've got, all this content that you're producing that is so genuine and real and it works. And I just love you. I'm applauding you all day long. Thank you.
Thank you.